Hello all and welcome back. I hope you're all doing really well. Again, I thank you for the love and support in the most recent video. Seriously appreciate it. There is a ton of stuff to cover again today in this video regarding the crypto markets and Hedera. We can start things off by looking at that inflationary report, or at least the reaction from that inflationary report. So the US equities markets, crypto, and even the pan-European stocks ended down significantly over the last couple of days, with almost all sectors and all major bourses sliding into negative territory. Mining stocks led the losses, down 2.3%, while things like oil and gas stocks bucked the downward trend, up 0.8%, and even cryptocurrencies fell in an exaggerated manner afterwards. And this is because US stocks posted their worst day in 2 years on Tuesday after a key August inflation report came in hotter than expected, hurting investor optimism for cooling prices and a less aggressive Federal Reserve. We've been talking about this for weeks at this point. The Federal Reserve's policies on interest rates in order to combat inflation are obviously paramount in investors' minds at the moment as to whether to be risk averse or risk taking. Unfortunately, what we have seen is the US Consumer Price Index, or CPI, inflation rising by 0.1% for the month of August and 8.3% annually in August. So over the 12-month period, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported on Tuesday, defying economist expectations that headline inflation would fall 0.1% month on month. Core CPI, which excludes volatile food and energy costs, also climbed 0.6% from July and 6.3% from August in 2021. The reading fueled further speculation the US Federal Reserve will continue its aggressive policy of tightening monetary policy. And of course, rising interest rates mean the cost of borrowing increases and serving all current debt increases to boot as well. The inflation report was one of the last pieces of data on inflation the Fed will see ahead of its September meeting, where the central bank is expected to deliver its third consecutive 0.75 percentage point rate hike in an effort to combat high inflation. So obviously that's triggered the events we've seen over the last 24 to 48 hours, with falling crypto prices and stocks as well, for that matter. Now, of course, again, no one has a crystal ball in what will happen going out into the future. However, majority of these markets at the moment are, of course, in very bearish territory. And as we saw there, the US stock market posting one of the worst days in 2 years. The crypto held up fairly well in comparison to that. Anyway, enough of what's happening on the macro level then. Let's jump straight into the rest of the crypto news. Tons of stuff again to cover for things like Hedera. If we do look at the crypto bubbles, of course, over the daily, the 24-hour period, majority of projects are performing quite badly. We can see Hbar is down 3.6%. However, on the weekly, it is still up 8.2%. And of course, that was ahead of that COINBASE listing news, buy the rumor, sell the news type of deal. And that was cut short by that inflation headline. I will be touching on what's happening with Coinbase in just a second, because again, there's a little bit of misinformation as to what is happening with that. However, again, looking across the remainder of the cryptocurrency projects, we can actually see Link is up 3.2%, something that I'm still obviously buying into, one of my interoperability plays. The other one being Quant, which I can't see at the moment. I'm not sure if we've fallen back below $100 as of yet, but something that I'm looking to continue stacking for the long term. If we do actually look at Bitcoin, we're still holding that $20,000 significance level, which is fantastic. And Ethereum is still at $1,600, being up 3.9% on the week. And the former, Bitcoin, being up 7.1% on the week. So not a horrific day or week overall so far. Over on WatchGuru's website, their Ethereum real merge tracker, we can now see we're just under 13.5 hours away from that Ethereum merge taking place, where the entire network will merge from proof of work across into proof of stake. Of course, after the sort of rising pressure from the global communities in order to transition away from high amounts of energy usage that's required in order to run these proof of work networks. And this is a big turning point for not only Ethereum, but the cryptocurrency markets in general. This is going to set a precedence for what's going to be happening in the future. So hopefully all things go smoothly. Of course, it is intended that we'll see many different forks of Ethereum take place. Whether any of those hold, like we've seen in the past with Ethereum Classic, who knows? However, that is something to bear in mind. So if you do hold any on-chain tokens or any Ethereum tokens, you may end up receiving airdrop tokens from some of those forked chains. And of course, you can do what you wish with those. That will probably be via your MetaMask wallet. Regardless, something to definitely pay attention to. And we will see what the reaction is from the crypto world in the next 14 hours, I guess, from when this takes place. Jumping across to Coinbase then, unfortunately we can see again on the right hand side here, keep an eye on Hedera, get instant alerts for major price changes over on here. The Hedera integration, or the Hbar integration, did actually take place, and you were able to buy Hbar coins directly on Coinbase. I think it was on Monday evening, and that was why we were seeing a lot of price action and volume for the Hbar token. And then unfortunately they pulled the listing, which has led to a lot of speculation about potentially issues with Hedera or Hbar's token being listed on Coinbase. We can see the Hbar Foundation actually cleared up some of this misinformation by saying, as many of us know on Hedera, of course, Hbar accounts or Hedera wallets use a simple account ID in the structure of 0.0.xxxx and forth so to represent Hbar accounts. Upon deposit open, we noticed Coinbase was actually instead using the public keys for these wallets. Based on feedback, they're working to adopt the standard account format, hence the delay. However, this is actually only one part of the story. I did screenshot this from Noob, which was in the SourceSwap Discord. He's one of the moderators there, who actually summarized it quite well. So Hedera did an update a few months ago that allowed you, in theory, to send Hbars to a public key. The idea was to make it easier to create an account. The account creation fee of $0.05 would just be deducted when you sent Hbar to the public key and the account ID generated being linked to it. The issue being is almost no wallets actually support this. And if Coinbase are or were just generating key pairs every time someone wanted to deposit Hbar, the user would actually be charged $0.05 every single time, as the network would generate an account ID for it. While in theory what Coinbase was doing for deposits worked, in reality it was a very high bar to reach to deposit and no real reason to do so. Other exchanges such as Binance, KuCoin and Bittrex all use the single Hedera account ID in the 0.0 format and assign each exchange account a unique memo which they include when depositing, which I've walked through with you guys in the past in my tutorials of how to buy Galaxy tokens, for example, and sending stuff back to exchanges. You need to incorporate that memo to ensure that it returns back to your account. Interestingly, Coinbase were using the Hedera account IDs on the withdrawal page, just not on the deposit one. So they actually got halfway there. They integrated the 0.0 standard account naming structure for withdrawals, but they just didn't on deposits. That was picked up upon. It was charging people $0.05 when it shouldn't have been, and therefore they are now rectifying that by changing, I guess, some of their system architecture in the background in order to fully support the standard which the remainder of the Hedera ecosystem actually uses. So again, hopefully that clears up some of what's happened currently. And realistically, a lot of it does seem to be on Coinbase rather than Hedera themselves. Of course, this is a very large company that should have been able to read the documentation before actually sort of adopting tokens onto their exchange. Anyway, in other news as well, we can see that social activity for Hedera Hashgraph or Hbar has measured a daily hit of 37.88 million. That was yesterday, the highest point in the last 90 days. And we can see there the price was trending up 13.63% on that daily. And of course, that was around that Coinbase news. And I'm sure that will continue again when we do see the listing actually become fully integrated and working as is intended on the Hedera network. Me personally, I was actually hoping that the Hedera tokens or Hbar tokens were going to continue falling, and that just enabled me to better dollar cost average and build an even bigger position, more buying power, so to speak, for my dollars. However, we are where we are, and I continue averaging in on the weekly. Wanted to jump across as well and quickly feature this tweet from Hbar Space talking about their vision. I covered them in a previous video and what they're trying to do with Hedera or on Hedera, but self-service tools that work in a social space that can bring the communities together. More FTL passes will be going on sale on the 15th of September. Creators, if you miss out, you need to wait for our subscriptions. What we can see here is they're looking at these airdrop mechanisms. They've got mobile launches in the future, mass minting tools, social rewards, QR-based sales, IRL token gating, purchasing fungible tokens, project storefronts, spotlight event platforms, full custom branding, etc., all on that sort of Web3 style forum that I showcased in that previous video. I may actually reach out to the team to get some more information about what's happening in the future and see if they're going to have any sort of personalized spaces, etc., going forward. Maybe it's something that I can look into for you guys to run. Dead Pixels, of course, as well, shortly after drop 3 the games begin. What are the games, you ask? We don't know what you're talking about, but the easiest way to not miss anything is 1, make sure you're on their mailing list, 2, make sure you're in their Discord, and 3, turn on your Twitter notifications. Hold on to your dookie, it's about to get spooky. We are going to be seeing 800 more of those ghosts drop on the, I believe was the 19th of September. Of course, make sure you're following them. This is one of the biggest NFT projects in the space. 800 HBAR per mint, fair mint, over on 𝗟𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗏. Again, on that listed date. Great community, mention it tons of times. Hopefully all you guys are aware of this. However, this is not the only NFT project that's going on at the moment. Actually, we can see Match Ace as well is currently giving away a 𝗟𝗘𝗙𝗥𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦 Club Ghost Pass, which has got a floor price of 11,500 HBAR. So make sure you've entered that. Follow him, follow 𝗟𝗘𝗥𝗥𝗥𝗥𝗥, retweet and tag a friend. Public mint 19th of September at 7 PM EST. I will be there in the Discord server trying to mint with you guys. Again, NFT projects on Hedera are going absolutely crazy at the moment, and there's not one that's grabbing more attention than EARTHLINGS.LAND. Of course, I've covered them in previous videos in greater detail, but they're looking to build a game, a sort of a metaverse-based game, Web 3.0 full integration based and built on top of Hedera. And these NFTs they keep dropping and releasing form part of the utility for in-game functions that will be available on launch. Attention, the Steam airships are ready for takeoff. We are happy to inform you that we can start minting our airships on Dropper NFT. See the NFT fact sheet in the thread for exact schedule, and then instructions for whitelist registration will follow soon. We see the GIF here of the different types of airships that will be available. Again, this is another collection similar to their watches. In fact, many of you may have seen in your wallets, if you own some of those steampunk style watches from the other collection, you've actually been airdropped some pins, and they've been doing very well on zoos as well. If I quickly jump into here, then we can see the whitelist sign up is Friday, September the 16th. So a couple of days from now, UTC 1 PM. So if you go onto EARTHLINGS.LAND and you go to the whitelist sign up, on that date, you should be able to sign up for a whitelist spot, which will then enable you to mint on Wednesday, September the 21st. If you hold a founder's card, Tuesday, September the 20th, and then the actual final public mint is Thursday, 22nd of September. Time frame is 72 hours, all on Dropper's website. And we can see here the number of spots per the mint. Of course, make sure you're getting involved in this. It looks like it's about 750 HBAR unless you've got a founder's card, in which case it's 690 HBAR. The final project I quickly want to talk about, which many of you may know of, one of the early ones to the space, obviously METAVISION. Good luck today. I think it's in 9 hours or so on HashTools Launchpad. The floppy passes will be going live. These come with tons of different utility. I'm not really sure actually what the mint prices are, but hopefully you guys are interested in this one as well. Check it out on HashTools. Make sure you're following them on socials as always to get the most up-to-date information. Another announcement here as well from HELISWAP or HELISWAP. At HELISWAP, security matters, code safety and prevention is a top priority for us. Not only is HELISWAP built by a team of experts at LimeChain HQ, it has also been audited by top-notch blockchain security firm Hbar Security, which of course are one of the big names, one of the standards, if you will, for audits in the crypto space. This is really, really good to see. Of course, we've talked about them in the past, about the unique features of what HELISWAP will be bringing to Hedera, unlike Hbar Suite, which is of course completely built on Hedera in terms of utilizing a combination of both the HTS and HCS, so it's completely native without smart contracts. Of course, we've got SourceSwap with their bespoke SDK and smart contracts that they're utilizing. HELISWAP, of course, will be using smart contracts, but with the ability as well to bridge across Ethereum or ERC20 based tokens. So these three different exchanges themselves all have a spot in the future for facilitating as a DEX or a decentralized exchange built on top of Hedera. Hopefully we'll be getting another announcement out of them soon about their launch date, but this is going to be a fantastic way to get more people again to migrate across from chains such as Ethereum, and I'm sure they'll be looking to integrate other chains in the future in order to captivate more of that capital across to the Hbar ecosystem. We can see here as well, they are actually partnered now with the Hbar Foundation. We can see excited to announce our support of HELISWAP DAX in their upcoming launch on the Hedera network as they position themselves to accelerate the growth of the burgeoning Hbar DeFi ecosystem, bringing the power from Ethereum. HELISWAP is here to unlock the DeFi potential of Hedera. I'll keep you guys up to date on this one as it is a very exciting one indeed. Right, probably the title of the video or somewhere along those lines. HBAR names or domain names, whatever you want to call them, are now actually live on Hedera Hashgraph, and you can pick them up. And I wanted to cover some of the stories that have unfolded over the last sort of 24 hours or so, as it has been a bit of a mess, to say the least. We can start off by saying that Hashpack 4.1 has actually been released, and they've added support for the HBAR domains to be used in place of account IDs across Hashpack. This includes during account importing and sending HBAR or other types of HTS tokens, as well as secure trade recipients. Please see HashGraph.NAME and Web23.io for the latest information regarding .hbar domain registration. Please note this update will be delayed for the Android app. For desktop users, remember to restart your browser to get the latest extension updates. So what we can see now is when you're inside Hashpack, if you own one of these domains or someone else owns one of the domains, when you are sending tokens in the recipient wallet address, you can actually type in the recipient's .domain, HBAR domain, if it is associated with their address, and Hashpack will natively resolve that domain name back into the 0.0 address. So for example, I now own danreed.hbar, and that is associated to one of my wallets. So if you went to send some tokens to danreed.hbar, that would resolve my wallet address, and I would receive those tokens in due course as a normal transaction would process. So that's kind of how that's working, and there'll be more features obviously coming soon to these domain names. Now, let's talk about what's actually happened over the last 24 hours or so, as there's been a bit of an issue between the communication of two different parties. As many of you will know, I was covering information regarding Web23.io as the domain name provider for the Hedera ecosystem. They were the first ones to be spoken about by the HBAR Foundation, and as far as I was aware at the time, they were the only ones working on domain names in the Hedera space. It then came to light that HashGraph.NAME was also working on .hbar domain names within the space, and they decided to mint enable minting of .hbar domains earlier, and it left a lot of confusion as to what the hell was going on within the community. They have actually released an update, and I want to read through it just to clear up, well, to sort of relay this from their perspective. Regardless, I think there have been sort of problems from both sides, in my personal opinion, as to how this was actually sort of conducted towards the end, and we'll get to those in a second. So there have been questions regarding our early launch of HashGraph.NAME. We felt the need to clear the air and give some more context to the situation. It was determined that it would be in the best interest of the ecosystem to establish a .hbar standard, which would allow any number of naming services to coexist on the network and ensure that names are not duplicated. Anyone that's familiar with traditional web domains, they are all held by the Domain Name Registry Service, which prevents you from obviously registering a domain name that already exists. This stops people from being able to go and buy, for example, facebook.com as a domain name, because it is already owned by that particular company. And of course, you then pay the renewal fees to maintain that ownership. You can't have duplicated domains because they wouldn't resolve properly by browsers when people are trying to search for them if two people own it and have different content, etc. It just doesn't work. It's a fundamental standard. In early to mid-August, we came to an agreement with Web23 and other parties that A, we would create a collaborative topic on the Hedera consensus service, which includes an SDK for wallet integration. B, each naming service would check the registry before minting a name, and C, each provider would have the ability to add names to the registry upon mint. So the idea being is that all of these parties that are trying to facilitate and propagate .hbar domains would look at this particular topic on the Hedera consensus service first to check to see if the domain name's already been registered. If it hasn't, it would let the end user mint that domain and then enter that into the registry topic to say that user now owns that domain. It can't be minted again. Makes complete and utter sense as to how this should work, and was clearly part of the roadmap for rolling this out. At that time in early August, we provided Web23 with a document consisting of our reserve list of names, which consists of core developers and contributors, as well as council members. The idea being, of course, you reserve some of the domain names from the minting, the initial minting, to ensure that core creators and council members could receive their own .hbar domains. For example, Google.hbar, or some of the big projects in the space, potentially Hashpack.hbar or SourceSwap.hbar. Again, I'll cover this in a second as to what happened in the end. We asked them to please provide us with their list as well, so we could avoid any duplication issues and to coordinate efforts on the unified registry. Despite not providing their list, we continued to build the collaborative topic registry, and about 2 weeks ago began asking for their public key so they could be added, so they could obviously propagate the topic themselves with people that are trying to mint domain names. While asking and waiting for both the reserve list and Web23's public key, we became aware of their promise of early access to minting, something that we do not believe to be fair to the community. We made our announcement that we were going to move forward with our launch. Web23 then announced an even earlier launch, indicating that early access individuals with the NFT passes would have 12 hours of near unlimited access to minting, allowing them to front run the rest of the community. The threat of front running and their unwillingness to coordinate on the collaborative topic ID and reserve lists became the final catalyst, which compelled us to launch as soon as possible. We wanted to allow the entire ecosystem open access for everyone to begin minting, which sounds fair enough. In the spirit of transparency, you can view the link to the topic ID here, which is where the domain names are stored. We know the community members had been promised .hbar domains from Web23. You can connect with them on their Discord server, let them know, and they will actually provide you with a free available .hbar name to Web23 token holders. So if you did have one of those early access passes, you can go over to their Discord and they will sort you out with a domain as recourse effectively, because unfortunately Web23 has still not actually launched. The TLDR being, they agreed on a way to work together and collaborate. Web23 continued to delay and ignore our requests. We learned that they were going to provide unfair early minting access, so we accelerated launch in order to be open to everyone. We also note that Web23 did finally provide a public key yesterday, and within hours were added to the topic prior to our launch. Web23 side of the story basically said they couldn't access the topic, and that's why they delayed their launch and have been delaying it ever since. HashGraph.NAME are obviously saying they did that. From what I can understand, HashGraph.NAME actually own or created majority of that registry, and Web23 were effectively going to be piggybacking off what was built by HashGraph.NAME. So it looks like a lot more of the infrastructure was built by this team rather than Web23. That's just from what I've been able to understand so far. Unfortunately, there's not been a ton of different announcements from the Web23 team during the time of what was actually happening. They have since come out with some announcements that they are obviously working in the best interest of the community, which I completely understand. It's just unfortunately there was a breakdown of communication between these two different parties, which caused the mess that some of you may have experienced yesterday and whenever it was. And early in the morning, it was like 3 or 4 a.m. for me personally. Terrible experience being up that early. It was, during midweek in order to try and mint a HBAR domain, which didn't then go through, and then I ended up using the HashGraph.name service. But the bottom line of the story is this is now live. You can actually go to HashGraph.name and mint domains through them. Alternatively, you can obviously wait for Web23 to get up and running. They've delayed their launch, and you'll be able to buy domains through them. Unfortunately, a lot of these domains have been registered. The list of reserved domains was nowhere near as comprehensive, I think, as people would like to have been, and it's led to a lot of people having their domains basically being held to ransom at the moment. We see an update here from HashGraph.name though, saying after talking with the ecosystem partners, the HBAR Foundation, Hedera, and of course Web23, they have been pausing their site and obviously working together to resolve this. We can see here HashTools, some of the aftermath. Whoever bought HashTools.hbar and listed it for 250,000 HBAR. I'm here to counter your offer at 0.25. 𝗥𝗙𝗙𝗏 was another one that got targeted. I know Pandas, Crypto Pandas, obviously did PandaVision. His domain name got taken, but someone gifted it back. So many different things have happened across the ecosystem. Unfortunately, it wasn't the smoothest launch, but HBAR domains are live. That's enough of that. Jumping across to a use case that appears to be going live on Hedera mainnet very soon. Hedera has given us a grant to build out this system, and we're launching a custom ecosystem for Hedera where users can pay in HBAR. And what we can see here is part of this integration for something called XENI. They're building their own SDK as a payment processor, and you'll be able to pay transactions through this platform using HBAR. We're using a unique Web2 travel infrastructure to introduce the benefits of blockchain into the legacy travel ecosystem, a business-to-business model Shopify for travel that allows anyone who wants to resell travel online to instantly launch their own booking engine. We chose Hedera because we are looking to participate in an open source and scalable blockchain network. Potato. We've got some major partnerships lined up to pilot XENI. We have a hotel consolidator with 20,000 hotels and an airline consolidator with 100 million in booking volume. Our biggest protocols are customized for online travel. XENIPay.com is built on consensus service and token service platform. So it is built on top of Hedera natively with this XENI SDK that they're looking at for the booking data to be routed through Hedera Hashgraph. And then payments look like they can be facilitated via Hedera as well. This looks like a very, very big use case. We see Lemonade here responding, saying they looks like they've already just minted their token on the mainnet. Very nice find by him. So we might have another large scale use case here, this time from the travel industry, which again just goes to show how robust Hedera is at processing 1,000,001 different types of infrastructure going forward into the future, and one of the reasons we all love and adore it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment if you've got something to say. I do try and respond to as many of them as I possibly can. Of course, you can always reach out to me on Twitter as well. I do lurk in a lot of these Discord servers, and I'm very active on Twitter. Make sure you reach out. I'm more than happy to interact with you guys. Until the next one, I'll catch you then. Cheers.